Hi everyone, welcome to the class of Emergence of Bangladesh. Now you are watching class number 2. In this class, we will talk about the early days of British India, from company to conqueror.
This class will specially focus on the following topics, such as the East India Company in India and growth of its power, the Battle of Palashi and its aftermath, Battle of Buxar, dual government, the Great Bengal Famine, Regulating Act of India, Permanent Settlement Act, socio-economic impacts of British rule, colonialism and drain of wealth.
We have divided this class into 3 parts. This is part 1. In this video, we will discuss about the Battle of Plassey and its aftermath. This will also tell us how a foreign company became the conqueror of an empire. This battle happened between Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowla and the British East India Company. Now, we will move on to the arrival of British East India Company and their initial flow of trading in India.
Being founded in 1600, British East India Company reached Bengal with a primary motive of extending business, but gradually expanded their imperial power in a way which later defeated the local Nawab and allowed British to establish their trading colony. Following the conquest of Bengal, gradually British conquered the whole of India and made it as part of British Empire. This is how British colonial rule was started in Bengal, which continued up to 1947 and left a massive impact in India. British East India Company began to trade in Surat of Gujarat, a state of India under Mughal Empire. In 1615, British King James I sent Sir Thomas Roe as his ambassador to the court of Emperor Jahangir. Being pleased with the amenity of this mission, Jahangir gave them trading right in India. The business of British East India Company was expanded to Bengal in 1633 through establishing a factory at Hariharpur in Bihar. They managed to get a farman or dastak, or which is also known as royal order, from Emperor Shah Jahan, permitting them to continue trade and commerce in Bengal. In 1651, British East India Company received permission from Subadar, governor of Bengal, Shah Shuja, which allowed them to trade in Bengal without any customs duties in lieu of an annual lump sum of 3,000 rupees only. Gradually, British East India Company established factories at Hooghly, Kashim Bazar, Dhaka, and Calcutta. The company also started to set up factories in coastal areas of southern India and established the headquarters of the company's business by building Fort St. George at Madras. Gradually, they started expanding towards all over India. 1696 was very remarkable for the expansion of British East India Company because this was when they purchased 3 villages such as Calcutta, Govindapur, Shutanati, and established Fort William. This is Fort William, which later became the center of British India. Gradually, East India Company started becoming more and more powerful and pursued the dream of conquering the whole of India. Now, let's look at this timeline carefully. It reviews the discussion that we have already had on the background of British East India Company. Being established in 1600, East India Company founded its first trading outpost at Surat in 1615. In 1633, they expanded to Bengal. In 1644, the company established their headquarters at Fort St. George in Madras. In 1651, British East India Company received permission from Subadar Shah Shuja to trade in Bengal. In 1696, They purchased 3 villages in Bengal and established Fort William in Calcutta. In 1717, Murshid Quli Khan became the first Nawab of Bengal. In 1756, Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowla came to power after the death of his grandfather Alivardi Khan and found himself surrounded by a group of palace conspirators. Finally, in 1757, the Battle of Plassey took place and British East India Company became the conqueror. The expansion of British East India Company was not always easy because they frequently had clashed with local subadar regarding the misuse of business opportunities and breaking of local laws. In 1717, Murshid Quli Khan replaced the subadari system with Nawabi system, declaring him as the first Nawab of Bengal. In the meantime, British East India Company received a fresh firman from Farrukh. Murshid Quli Khan was very strict to East India Company. Thus, he could control them for a while, but later Nawabs could not check this growing power of East India Company effectively. Now, we will detail the plot of Battle of Plassey. In 1756, Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowla ascended to the throne after the death of his grandfather Alivardi Khan. When Siraj came to power, East India Company already became very powerful, both in business and local politics. To stop the disruption of British East India Company, Siraj ordered them to halt unauthorized fortification, misuse of dastak, and to abide by the laws of Bengal. British East India Company denied going according to the orders of Nawab. As a result, Nawab attacked Calcutta and defeated East India Company. But many members of Nawab's courtier had secret interest and relation with the company as part of their palace conspiracy and business interest. British East India Company took the advantage of this palace conspiracy to depose Siraj. Consequently, a group of conspirators from Nawab's court joined with the company and committed a secret treaty to overthrow Nawab with a pre-planned battle, which is known as the Battle of Plassey. In this battle, Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowla was defeated by British East India Company because of the conspiracy of Mir Jafar, Zagat Shet, Ghasete Begum, Umi Chand, Rai Durlov, Raj Ballov, Manik Chand, and many others. This image on the right side shows the signing of secret treaty between Mir Jafar and William Watts, the chief of Kashim Bajar factory. The image on the left side portrays the meeting of Mir Jafar with Robert Clive. The defeat of Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowla in the Battle of Palashi changed total scenario in Bengal. After this battle, Mir Jafar became the puppet Nawab. Thus, British East India Company became the kingmaker of Bengal and colonial rule started, which lasted for 190 years and left massive impact in India.
Mir Jafar found it really tough to realize the growing demand of British East India Company and tried to be free from the domination of them with the help of Dutch, which caused the Battle of Jinsura in 1759. But this move did not succeed.
Subsequently, Mir Jafar was replaced by his son-in-law Mir Qasim, who also wanted to get free from the domination of British East India Company and fought a battle against them, which is known as the Battle of Buxar. Mir Qasim, along with Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II, was defeated by the company. This defeat of the native alliance allowed the company to get the power of Diwani from Mughal Emperor. Thus, Clive became Diwan, the head of revenue and finance, which initiated dual system or dual government. The Battle of Palashi was the starting point for British, but the Battle of Buxar was a decisive victory for them. As in this battle, they did not only defeat the local Nawab of Bengal, but also the supreme authority of India, the Mughal Empire. This made British aspirations of establishing an empire in India even more vivid. At this stage, Clive wrote to the directors in England, "We have at last arrived at that critical conjuncture which I have long foreseen. I mean that conjuncture which renders it necessary for us to determine whether we can or shall take the whole Mughal Empire to ourselves." Battle of Plassey was the starting point, but within a century, British brought most of the parts of Indian subcontinent under their colonial rule. British East India Company always used to think about their profit instead of taking care of the Indian subjects. By taking the charge of Diwani, Clive became the head of revenue and finance, which initiated a dual system. Under this system, East India Company used to collect the tax. In returns, they had to pay 26 lakh rupees to the Mughal Emperor and 53 lakh rupees to the Nawab of Bengal. After this, East India Company could take the rest of the money as their profit. The Nawab was responsible for everything, but the monetary control of the kingdom was in the hand of foreign company. Due to the callous way of tax collection, Bengal witnessed a devastating famine in 1770, which is known as Chiatturer Monnontor, following the Bengali year 1176. Even tax kept on increasing during the years of famine. This is how the economic exploitation and the resource drain started. As Robert Clive wrote to the board of directors, after maintaining all the expenditure, such as pension for Nawab and Emperor, the net profit of the company in the fiscal year of 1765 to 1766 was as worthy as 12 crore and 50 lakh rupees. The plunder done by British East India Company has also been described with documents by the famous British historian William Dalrymple in his recently published book, The Anarchy. The unchecked profiteering, along with frequent natural calamities, caused the Great Bengal Famine of 1769 to 70. Because of this famine, 10 million people died, and the dual system was finally abolished. The plunder done by British East India Company was so high that it also grabbed the attention of British government. British government passed a Regulating Act of India in 1773, which appointed Warren Hastings as the first Governor General of India. Gradually, British government started having more control in the ruling system of Bengal as well as in India.
This is how India became a colony of Britain. Indians started to be ruled by such others who never considered India or Bengal as their own land. Rather, they always drained the wealth of India to Britain. This is the end of part 1. We will talk about the permanent settlement and the impact of colonial rule in our subsequent videos.